ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशव वामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। The 13th chapter probably is the most subtle and probably the most difficult chapter because Bhagwan is talking about the very nature or the Swarupam of Atma in three forms. He takes three sets of words which are asked by Arjuna as a question. And in these three sets, the first set, which is Kshetra-kshetrajna, in that the Kshetrajna, and in the next set, the Jnanam and Neyam, in that set, the Neyam or that which is to be known, and the third set, that is Prakriti and Purusha, which we are dealing with. In this set, the Purusha, they are all the same. Kshetrajna, Bhagwan wants to describe Kshetrajna. Why does he want to describe this Atman in three different ways? As Kshetrajna, as the Gneyam. Kshetrajna means what? That which is inhabiting inside every Kshetra. That which is the observer or the knower of every Kshetra. Kshetra means the entire manifest Jagat and the body mind sense complex. So here Krishna talks about this Atma or Brahman in three separate ways and in three aspects. Krishna describes the very Swarupam or the nature of this Atma Brahman. As a Kshetrajna, he says that there is one Kshetrajna, one consciousness which is in all the Kshetras. So that aspect of one single Ekam Advitiyam Atma Brahman, which is the Adhishtanam or the very support of every Kshetra. That is what is explained in the nature of Kshetrajna. And when Bhagwan talks about the Nyeya Vastu, Nyeyam, that which is supposed to be known, that which has to be known by everybody, which he called as Neyam. Here, Bhagwan explained the very nature of this Atma or Brahman as Sat Swarupa Atma, that which is the very existence of everything, that which provides or that which is the Adhishtanam existence because of which everything else exists. The entire world all the jivas, the body, mind, sense complexes of all the jivas, everything that we see in the Jagat, that which is a product of Prakriti, all of them gain their existence from none other than this Neyam or Atma. So here Kshetrajna and Neyam and Purusha, all the three are the three words used to indicate Atma or Brahman. And now Bhagwan is talking about the third set, in which here Bhagwan says that Prakriti is that which is a vikari, or that which manifests into different names and forms called the entire universe. It is the Prakriti which undergoes changes, and all the body, mind, sense complexes of every jiva, including all the names and forms in the entire Jagat, including the living and non living beings, are nothing but the products of Prakriti. Prakriti is the material cause, the upadana karanam. And what is Purusha? Purusha is the nimitta karanam, or the intelligent principle, which we also called as Atma or Brahman, which is there in and through all the manifestations of Prakriti. And what does it do? It is the provider of consciousness. Here, Purusha is described as that consciousness, that knowingness which is present in every jiva. Like the Satrupa, Jneya, this Chit Rupi Purusha here also indicates the Atma Tattvam or Brahman itself. So here Bhagwan is describing Atma or Brahman as Sat, Chit, Rupi, Atma or Brahman. And when he wants to describe the Satrupa Atma, that because of which everything exists, he calls it as the Nyayam, that which is to be known, which was described in the 8th chapter as Brahma. Okay, so what is that Brahma, Brahman, that was described as this Nyaya Vastu? Now, the same Kshetrajna, that consciousness principle, because of which the living organism or every jiva conducts all its vyavaharas, is this Purusha, which is the very consciousness Swarupa Atma. So here, Bhagwan Krishna is stressing more on the Purusha as the consciousness principle which is available as the content in every container which can be called as the body mind sense complex. And here he described, we saw that in the last two verses, the 19th and 20th verses, as to what is Prakriti and what is Purusha. And now the very nature or Swarupam of this Purusha as the very consciousness. What is this consciousness? The awareness, the witness, that which is aware of what is happening in the kshetra, that awareness which is aware of what is happening in this whole universe, that which is aware of every name and form, that which is aware of every experience that the body mind sense complex goes through in its vyavahara along with the jagat. This awareing principle, this awareness, this sakshi, the witnessing principle is called as Purusha or consciousness or Chit Swarupa Atma. So, what is the very nature of Atma? Sat Swarupa, Chit Swarupa Atma has been described in the 13th chapter. And now we were in the 21st verse last time, where Bhagwan said, Purusha Prakriti Stohi Bhungte Prakriti Jan Gunan Karanam Guna Sangosya Sadasadyoni Janmasu. So, what he says here is, Purusha is what? Purusha is the witness consciousness. But this Purusha cannot be anywhere else, because there are no two things separately as Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha and Prakriti, that is the matter principle and the intelligent principle, the Upadana Karanam and the Nimitta Karanam of the Jagat, they are always existent together. And Prakriti, which is a vikari. Vikari means what? Which undergoes transformation into these various names and forms, requires the support of this Purusha. In what sense? Prakriti draws or borrows existence and consciousness from this Purusha and projects this entire universe. So here Bhagwan says, Purushaha Prakristhaha. This consciousness, this existence, Neya, this consciousness, Purusha, who are one and the same, it is available within this matter principle itself. Therefore, there is no need for us to look for this Atma or Purusha. Where is this Purusha? Where is this consciousness? This consciousness is the very content of every body, mind, sense complex jiva. Therefore, this Purusha is very much present alongside, within, without, in and through the entire Prakriti or the manifestation of Prakriti. And what does it do? Bhunkte Prakriti Jan Gunan. Bhunkte here means it witnesses. It is the witnessing consciousness. Because of that consciousness, everything that happens in the body, mind, sense complex and in the Jagat around is known. It is understood. What is it that knows in me? There is something which knows what this body is doing. There is something which knows this body. There is something which knows this mind. There is something which knows the thoughts in the mind. There is something which knows the ignorance, what I know, what I don't know also. There is something in me which knows and understands what is happening in the world outside. There is that something in me which knows all the interactions and the vyavahara that I, this body, mind, prakriti is doing with the jagat outside. Now, who is this knower? This knower, this witness, this consciousness, the knower consciousness is what is called as the Purusha. And what does it do? It it witnesses, or whatever is happening is being witnessed because of its presence. Do you understand? When I see that I'm seeing, I'm a seer. The eyes are seeing, correct? But what is it that makes the eyes see? It is this Purusha Atma. What is it that understands what the eye is seeing? It is the Purusha Atma. What is it because of which the ear is capable of hearing the sound? It is this witness consciousness Atma. What is it that understands that what I hear is this particular sound? It is this Purusha Atma. That is why we have an Upanishad called as Kenopanishad, in which it is said that this Atma, this Purusha is what? Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manoyat, Vachoya Vacham, Sahu Pranasya Pranaha. So what it says is, this Purusha or consciousness is the eye of the eye, the ear of the ear, the mind of the mind. Okay, what is the meaning of this? Does it mean that the eye has another eye? No. What it means is, every sense organ which experiences its own field, that experience is because of which the eye is the eye, because of which the ear is the ear, because of which the eye is able to function as an eye, because of which all the sense organs are able to function, because of which in their respective fields, and simultaneously understand the experience of every sense organ. This is what is called as the consciousness, witness consciousness, or Purushaha. Therefore, all these things that are being witnessed. Now, when I say, I see a red flower, I say that. Now, what is the meaning of that? There is a knower, there is this consciousness which understands that the eye is seeing a flower and it is a red flower. Now, the flowerness belongs to the flower. The red color belongs to the flower. But the consciousness, the Purusha or Atma, is in no way influenced or affected either by the flower or by the redness. Therefore, what he says is, but what do we do? When I say the eye is seeing, I don't say that. How do I experience my seeing? I say, I am seeing. I say, I am seeing. Who is this I? I have mistaken what the eyes see to be seen by Atma, the me. Therefore, out of ignorance, I project all the attributes of the world outside and the body mind sense complex onto myself, the Purusha. And this is called as the ignorance or adhyasa. What is the adhyasa? The confusion between me, the real me, that is the Atma or Purusha, and the Anatma body mind sense complex. Now I say I am fat, supposing say. The fatness, it doesn't belong to me, the Atma. Fatness is an attribute of the body. But in my ignorance, I don't see me, I, this consciousness as distinct from this anatma. So what do? I superimpose or I transfer all the body dharmas, all the dharmas of the mind, all the attributes of everything that I see around. I try to project them on me and I say, I am fat, I am thin, I am tall, I am depressed, I am seeing, I am not well. Okay, I am unwell. All the dharmas, all the attributes of the body, mind, sense complex are literally thought to be my dharmas, my attributes. And because of this ignorance, Bhagwan Krishna says, Karanam guna sangosya sad asad yoni janmasu. It is this confusion, it is this mix up between Anatma and Atma, because of which I think that all the attributes of the body mind, all the attributes of the world outside are mine, they belong to me. But in reality, I, this Purusha, this Atma, is a mere witness knower. That's it. What I know does not affect me, the knower. Okay? Therefore, Krishna says here that if I all the time think that whatever is there outside belongs to me, the Atma, or whatever are the characteristics or the attributes of what is outside, the characteristics of the body, the attributes of the body are my attributes. It is purely out of ignorance or avidya. And this is the cause for this jiva to come back again and again into cycles of birth and death. So, sad asad yoni janmasu karanam. What is the karanam? Not knowing that I, this Purusha, this consciousness is unaffected. It is the unafflicted witness consciousness. By its mere presence, it allows or it makes the entire Anatma Prapancha function according to its order. Its mere presence is enough. Let me give you an example. Now, if there is an electricity flowing through a particular electric gadget, the electricity does not have to tell the fan or the light, okay, now I'm here, you now start rotating or you now start burning. No. In the mere presence of electricity, in its mere presence, whichever gadget it is, it works according to what it has been configured for. If it is a fan, it rotates. If it is a bulb, it's a light, then it lights up. It is that same consciousness. It is that same. Now, don't think that consciousness is electricity. Huh? I'm just giving an example. That electricity, which is one and the same behind every electrical gadget, and this electricity doesn't have to do anything. By its mere presence in association with the gadget does its work the way it has to do. Similarly, the mere presence of this consciousness or Atma or Purusha close to every organ, all the jnanendriyas and karmendriyas will make those indriyas or those sense organs function according to what they are made for. The mere presence of this Atma, the eye functions as the eye, the ear functions as the ear, the speech functions, the organ of speech functions as the organ of speech, the hands function like hands. Its mere presence. This is what is called as the Purusha, which is a mere witness, not affected by any of the functions of the anatma body mind sense complex. But what do we do? In our ignorance, we attribute all the functions of the body mind sense complex onto the atma or the witness and say, I did this, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the seer, I am the listener, I am the thinker, I am the speaker, everything. Actually, in my presence, the eyes see. In my presence, the ears hear. In my presence, the whole body conducts its activity, and I am a mere witness. By my mere presence, everything functions the way it has to. And I am not affected by any of the functions of any of the organs of the anatma. Like the electricity's mere presence, every gadget works, and the working of that gadget does not affect the electricity anyway. It remains as it is, unaffected by what the gadget is functioning. Therefore, without knowing this is my ignorance. This ignorance is the one which makes me feel that I am the karta, I am the bhokta, I am everything, I am the doer. And this is the bondage which brings me back again and again into various body forms. Sadasad Yoni Janmasu means my taking birth in different bodies, in different forms is only because of this. Then he goes to the next verse and he says, Upadrishtanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwaraha paramatmeti chapyuktaha dehesmin purushah paraha. Where is this Purusha available? Dehe asmin Purushaha paraha. That Purushaha, that consciousness, which is other than the Prakriti, other than the Deha, is available where? Dehe asmin. And what is it? What is its nature? Upadrishta. Upadrishta means an intimate witness, that which is immediately behind the entire body mind sense complex, because of which the different parts of the body mind sense complex are able to carry on their activities. This intimate witnessing consciousness, or this intimate witness consciousness, here the word uses upadrishta. Upa means that which is very close to me. That's why Purusha is also called as Pratyagatma. Pratyagatma means what? Pratyang means the innermost, the most intimate thing in me, for me, is what? Atma, or this Purusha. So it is that intimate witness consciousness. Witness of what? All that is happening in the body mind sense complex, all the functions of the body mind sense complex, all the interactions that this body mind sense complex has with the world outside. This Purusha is the intimate, ultimate witness of everything that is happening within me. Not only that, Anumanta cha. Anumanta. Be careful, it is not Hanumanta. It is Anumanta. Anumanta means that consciousness which blesses the entire body, mind, sense complex anatma to function in the proper way. So it is an Anumanta. It is the one which blesses, which allows the body, mind, sense complex to function the way it has been created, for whatever purpose it has been created. The eyes will only see the form and the color. The ears will only hear the sound. The nose will only smell. And it is that which is happening, because of the very blessing of this Atma. This is what is called as Anumanta. So the Purusha or this consciousness is an Upadrashta, a witness consciousness, Anumanta, that principle which blesses all the activities of the body, mind, sense complex happening. Then Bharta. Bharta means which is filling as a content this entire container called as the body, mind, sense complex. This entire container called as the Jagat is filled by that content, the content which fills up. Purishete or Purayati iti. That which fills up the entire content Anatma by itself, it is called as Bharta. That which supports, that which sustains, that which fills. That is why a husband is called as a Bharta, because he is supposed to support the family, earn for the family. But Bharta is not, given that name only for only the husband. If the wife is supporting the whole family, the wife becomes the Bharta. Bharta means anybody, anything which supports. This witness consciousness, Purusha, supports the activities of this entire body, mind, sense complex, supports the activities of the entire Jagat by filling the entire Anatma as a content. Therefore, it is called as Bharta. And then Bhokta Maheshwara. From an ignorant person's point of view, this Purusha becomes the Bhokta, the experiencer. Okay, so I am sad. When I experience something, I don't say that it is the eyes, it's the mind which is experiencing. No, what do I say? I say I am the experiencer of this. Therefore, from ignorant person's point of view, this Purusha is mistaken to be a Bhokta or an experiencer. But the Atma is not an experiencer. It is a mere witness consciousness. And the experiencer is who? The body, mind, sense complex. The Prakriti, along with the Chidabhasa, which I told earlier in the first class, that is the experiencer. And Purusha is a mere witness. And therefore, this Purusha is also called as Paramatma. We have heard that, isn't it? Paramatma. Paramatma iti cha api uktaha. This consciousness, Purusha, is also called Paramatma. It is Maheshwara. It is that Paramatma or Maheshwara. Where is it available? Where is this Purusha available? Where is this Paramatma available? In me, the Anatma body mind sense complex. This Paramatma, Maheshwara, is available as the very content consciousness which blesses all the activities of this body as an Anumanta, which is all the time existing there as a witness consciousness. Now, with this, the description of the nature of Purusha is over. Now we can breathe a sigh of relief, because now slowly the difficult part of this explanation of Gneya Purusha is over now. Now what does he say? Yayevam vetti Purusham. The 23rd verse, he says, Yayevam vetti Purusham Prakritin cha gunaihi saha sarvatha vartamanopi nasabhuyo bhijayate. Arjuna, this knowledge or Atmajnanam or Brahmajnanam is nothing but understanding of what is Purusha and Prakriti. Ya yevam vietti Purusham. The one who knows this Purusha in this way. In what way? That this whole Jagat, including this body, mind, sense complex, is a mixture or a combination of Purusha and Prakriti. The Prakriti is that which gives rise to this Anatma body, mind, sense complex, which keeps changing constantly. Whereas the Purusha is the content consciousness that is nothing but me, the Atma, which doesn't undergo any change, but which supports by its presence and as a witness. It is in and through, it supports the Prakriti, Anatma body, mind to undergo all its Vyavahara, all its karmas, and all its experiences. Therefore, a person who understands this, a person who is able to differentiate between the Purusha and Prakriti, a person who does no longer superimpose or transfer the gunas of Prakriti onto Purusha. This is what is the knowledge which is to be known by everybody. And therefore, Arjuna understand that Purusha or the Neyam or the Kshetrajna is the very content consciousness which provides existence and consciousness to the entire Anatma and itself remains unaffected as the mere witness consciousness. Ya evam vetti, in this way, a person who knows this Purusha and the difference between Purusha and Prakriti, and the one who knows that what has attributes is Prakriti, Prakritim cha gunaihi saha, that which has attributes, that which keeps changing is nothing but this Prakriti. This container body mind sense complex, this name and form Rupi Jagat, constantly changing, that is Prakriti. And all the attributes and the changes and all attributes means what? All the gunas belong to what? Belong to the Prakriti. And I, the Purusha, is untainted, mere witness consciousness. Because of me, the whole Anatma is able to function in a way that it is meant to function. And a person who knows this is the knower of this knowledge. This is that knowledge, this is the Atmajnana, which clears the confusion between me, the real me, the Atma, and what I thought of all this time myself to be, that Prakriti or Anatma. This Atma Anatma Viveka, Prakriti Purusha Viveka or Kshetrajna Viveka is that which ultimately frees a person from the bondage of ignorance. Na sa bhuyo abhijayate. He gets free. He gets free from all bondage here and now, and there is no coming back in another body after this body falls. So here Bhagwan is talking about Sadhyo Mukti or Jivan Mukti. That means here and now, alive as I'm alive, I'm free from this bondage because I know I am the Atma, Purushaha, unaffected by the Prakriti, and whatever is changing, whatever is continuing to do its transaction in a particular way is nothing but this Anatma body, and I am the content consciousness because of which the whole Anatma body is capable of functioning in such a wonderful manner. But I'm not affected by anything that is happening in the Anatma body. Krishna said that earlier in the 9th chapter also, isn't it? Namam, in the 5th chapter, he said, Namam karmani limpanti. I do so many actions, but I'm not a karta. Nothing really affects me. Okay, Matsthani Sarva Bhutani in the 9th chapter. I give existence to every living object, Chara Charam, Chara and Achara Jagat. But Nacha Matsthani Bhutani. I am not affected by what I support. I support, but I am not affected by what I support. Therefore, such a person is a jnani, the person who understands it, and he gets free from bondage here and now, which is called as Jivan Mukti. And once he is a Jivan Mukta, all his karmas are burnt off. 4th chapter, isn't it? Jnanena sadrishaha pavitramiha na vidyate. Sarvani karmani, they are what? Dagdhani. Because of this what? Because of this knowledge. This knowledge burns all one's ignorance, burns all karmas and karma phalas, and therefore there is nothing left to be reborn again in another body. With this, the description of the 3 sets of words is over. Now, in the next 3 verses, Bhagwan is going to talk about the sadhanas for understanding this knowledge and the phalam of this knowledge. Now he goes to the sadhanas, 24th verse. He'll go to the 24th verse. Here Bhagwan says, Dhyanenatmani pashyanti kechid atmanam anye sankhena yogena karma yogena chapare. So here again, Bhagwan is reminding us of all the levels of sadhana, which he described in the 12th chapter as levels of bhakti. So we'll go to the last line first. He says, what are the sadhanas? We have already seen this many times, but he includes it in this chapter also because he says in the previous verse, Ya evam veti, the one who knows this Purusha Prakriti Bheda, the one who knows what this Purusha is. How to know that? These are the sadhanas. So he's again revising the various sadhanas. So the last line is what? Karma yogena chapare. Okay, here what he says is one of the sadhanas used by those who have absolutely no idea of what it is, but they have already made their Purushartha Nishchaya. What is their Nishchaya? I want to be free from this bondage. I want to understand what this Atma is. Where do they start? Karma Yogena Cha Apare. Some of them start with, most of us, what some of them? All of us have to start with Karma Yoga as the first sadhana. And in this Karma Yoga, Upasana also is included. What is Karma Yoga? Ishvara Arpana Buddhya Karma. And then Ishvara Prasada Buddhya Karma Phala Svikriti. So that is the first level of sadhana. Then there is Upasana. Either Ekarupa Ishvara Upasana, in the form of worshipping my Ishtadevata in a single name and form, or Vishwarupa Ishvara Upasana, where I learn to see the entire Jagat as nothing but the manifestation of Ishvara, and I worship Ishvara as Vishwarupa. Therefore, this Karma Yogina here includes both Karma Yoga and Upasana. So, most of us have to take up to the sadhana of Karma Yoga and Upasana. Then he says, previous line, Anye Sankhyena Yogena. Here, Sankhya Yogena. Sankhya means Jnana Yoga. Exposing this intellect after I have got sufficient Chitta Shuddhi by Karma Yoga, sufficient Chitta Naishchalyam and Chitta Vishalata by Upasana, I go to Jnana Yoga. In the form of what? Shravanam and Mananam. So, Anye Sankhena Yogena. That means what? Those who have already completed sufficiently the sadhana of Karma Yoga and Upasana, those who have sufficiently cleared their minds and made their minds capable Shuddha Chitta Shuddhi, sufficient Chitta Shuddhi, sufficient Chitta Naishalyam and Chitta Vishalata by Upasana. What do? They go to Jnana Yoga and go through a process of Shravanam and Mananam. What is Shravanam? Guru Mukhena Shastra Adhyayanam. The words of the Shastra are given out by the Guru and explained in such a way, like what Lord Krishna is doing now, that I understand. I'm able to clearly see the difference between Atma and Anatma, the Bheda between Prakriti and Purusha, and to understand ultimately, I am that Purusha myself, which is being talked about. I have to go through sufficient amount of Shravanam and Mananam. What is Mananam? Listening again and again and again to the words of the Guru and make this knowledge doubt free in me. Then what does he say? There are other people, dhyanena atmani atmanam pashyanti kechid. The first two lines are talking about who? They're talking about a nididhyasaka, what we saw in the 6th chapter. Nididhyasaka or Akshara Upasaka that we saw in the 12th chapter, the Akshara Upasaka, where whatever is heard, Guru Mukhena Shastra Shravanam, whatever has been done, not one day or 2 days. It is difficult initially. I persist. I don't give up. I persist to listen again and again and again for a sufficient length of time. because this is something which my intellect is not used to. My intellect is only used to very gross vyavahara. This kind of a subtle knowledge, my intellect is not used to understanding. So, after sufficient chitta shuddhi and chitta naishalyam, I have to, for a long enough period of time, how long that nobody can say, till I have understood what verbally, at least intellectually, what the Guru is trying to say from the Shastra, I have to be able to understand that clearly. And a process of mananam by which whatever I've heard from the Guru and Shastra, they are doubtless. But then I'm still not able to see that and assimilate it. I know that Atma Anatma Viveka I have understood now. I know that I am a combination of Prakriti and Purusha. And now I know there is no doubt in me that real I am that Purusha consciousness itself. But this Prakriti Anatma is an incidental association with me. But I am not that. I am this Atma which is a witness consciousness. I know it. But then I have not assimilated it yet that aham saha purushaha iti, I am that atma iti, that has not been digested and absorbed in me. Now what should I do? I have to go to the next level of what is called as akshara upasana in the 12th chapter, or nididhyasana in the 6th chapter, dhyana yoga. So he says here, dhyanena, by constant contemplation, nididhyasana, atmani, atmanam, atmana pashyanti. In this intellect itself, by this intellect itself, I try to understand what is my real nature. I am nothing but that Atma. This Anatma body mind sense complex is a mere incidental baggage with me. That's it. And that clear understanding, what is called as a samyak darshanam, that clear understanding happens only with sufficient amount of nididhyasanam. The shravanam and mananam, which are the understanding as at the intellect, merely being there will not help. It has to be assimilated. It has to be absorbed by me. And nididhyasanam or dhyanam or contemplation is that process where this buddhi, using this very buddhi, tries to understand what is the real me, what is my reality. So dhyanena, by contemplation, atmani, in the buddhi, atmana, by this buddhi, atmanam pashyati, tries to understand what this purusha or atma is. So this is the first sadhana. Now he says that sometimes it may so happen that a person may not be, you know kind of able to do this entire vedanta grantha shravana mananam and nididhyasana, but he may listen to a guru who's giving the same thing. The content of the shruti is being given out by the guru in the form of whatever it is, as as a form of vidya being given. But a person need not always go to reading these Upanishads or reading Brahma Sutras. It may not be necessary. But very, very accurately and with Shraddha, if a person listens to a guru who gives the very same content of the Shruti, but does not involve this person in the traditional method of Shastra Adhyayanam, such a sadhana also is possible, and it will give the same result. That is what he's saying in the 25th verse. So he says, Anye tvevamajānantah śrutva upasate tepi chati tarantyeva mrityum shruti parayanaha. Shruti parayanaha. That means what? Those who listen to the Guru with commitment and with Shraddha, and this Guru is giving out the same knowledge of the Shruti of the Upanishads in the same way, maybe in a different language, in a different vernacular, not bringing the books and reading out from the books, but he is talking directly to the Shishya without making the Shishya study the Shastra, but the Shishya has to listen continuously, constantly, over a period of time to this Guru. Even then, such a Shruti Parayanaha, that means the one who listens to a Vedanta Guru, even if he does not go to study the Upanishads or Brahma Sutra or other things, but then he's able to understand what the content of the Upanishads is, what the content of our Vedanta is by merely listening to a guru. But here the guru should give out the content properly. That is there. But then when it is given out like this, it is not even necessary for a person to really go through the detailed study of any of this also. See, Lord Krishna is so compassionate that he says, it doesn't matter if you're not able to go through and study the Shastra, at least listen to a guru who has studied the Shastra and who is giving you the content of the Shastra with Shraddha and Bhakti for a sufficient period of time. At least listen to that guru and continue to contemplate on it. So, Anye tu evam ajanantaha, those who are not capable of doing this detailed study of the Shastra, shutva anyebhyaha upasate. Listening to a guru, anyebhyaha means here a guru who is giving out the same content of the Vedas, but not making the Shishya go through the whole thing like we are doing now. It may not be. But our what is our parampara teaches us to study the Shastra. But there may be some other paramparas, gurus of other paramparas, who may not insist on the Shishya having to study the Shastra, but they'll give out the same content of the Shastra. You listen to me, that is enough. You don't bother about anything else. Whatever I tell you, you listen. And he absolutely gives out the same content, but he may give it in different words, in different language. He may try to explain it. Such people also, te picha atitaranti eva mrityum. Such people also Shruti Parayanaha. These people also have a chance of getting moksha. Okay. And then in the next one, he says that Yavat Sanjayate Kinchit Sattvam Sthavara Jangamam Kshetra-kshetrajna Samyogat Tadvidhi Bharatarshabha. So, what he's saying here is that every living being goes through the cycles of birth and death. Okay? Everything that I see as a name and form, including my body, mind, sense complex, is nothing but a product of Prakriti. Okay? And the ignorant are the ones who identify themselves with the container body, mind, or anatma. And they come back again and again in life. But if you understand that, Yavat Sanjayate Kinchit, okay, the one who understands that, knowing clearly that whatever sthavara jangamam, whatever is the anatma or the body mind sense complex, is nothing but a combination of prakriti and purusha. Prakriti is that which appears and wastes away and disappears, and ultimately it's the purusha which is the unchanging consciousness principle, which is the real me. That as long as the person understands this Kshetra-kshetrajna samyoga and tries to understand and see that I am that Kshetrajna within the entire Kshetra, and that is my reality. So, what do? I identify myself with the content rather than the container. And then what happens? This is what prevents me from coming back again and again. The understanding that I am the Purusha, I am the Kshetrajna, I am the Gneya, I am the Atma, I am Brahman, who is changeless, who is Nityam, who is Nirvikari, Nirvishesha, Nirguna Atma Ahamasmiti. But at the same time, everything that has appeared here as a product of Prakriti is nothing but a combination of Kshetra and Kshetrajna. And in this mixture, who am I? I am the Kshetrajna consciousness. This very knowledge is the one which frees this person, the one who knows, from repeated coming back to births and deaths again and again. Up to here, the sadhanas were talked about. Now, the phalam of this knowledge is being talked about. What is the phalam of this knowledge? Knowing this through these sadhanas, I have understood that Kshetra-kshetrajna, Purusha Prakriti, this is the whole picture. And what is the container and what is the content? What is it that changes? What is it that manifests into names and forms? What is the content which remains changeless? That Atma Ahamasmi iti. When I understand this, this is what is called as moksha. This is what is called as freedom. Jivan Mukti here and now while living here itself. And naturally, this knowledge burns away all my karma and karma phalam. And there is no question of this jiva coming back again in another body, which is called as the Videha Mukti. Now, what is the phalam? That is the benefits of this knowledge, or the phalam of this knowledge are being talked about here. Now, he says in the 27th verse, Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyat vinashyantam yah pashyati sa pashyati. Yah pashyati sa pashyati. The one who understands this, whatever has been told all this time, he is called as the one who really sees. Yaha pashyati, saha pashyati. If he sees this clearly, then that is called as samyak darshanam. So the clarity of vision is the first benefit or first phalam of this knowledge. What is that? Now, samam parameshwaram. Parameshwar, we have to take the first word samam, and then we have to take the next line Parameshwaram. This Parameshwara, this Paramatma, this Atma, Samam, remains the same without undergoing any changes. Where? Sarveshu Bhuteshu, in all the Sthavara Jangama beings, in all the beings which are moving and non-moving, in all the beings, that Parameshwara, which is existing as the very content consciousness, Sarveshu Bhuteshu, Vinashyatsu Avinashyantam. This this Purusha, which is indestructible, but which is the content found in the destructible body mind sense complex. The container is destructible, the content is not destructible. Indestructible content which is present in a destructible body mind sense complex. So he says, Vinashyatsu avinashyantam tishtantam. That which is all the time there in the ever changing body, mind, sense complex anatma, but remains constantly without undergoing any change. This Parameshwara, this Paramatma, this Atma, one who understands as himself, Yaha Pashyati, Saha Pashyati. He sees this. That means what? This person who has this knowledge has the Samyak Darshanam, or the clarity of vision as to what is what. There is no more any confusion. Then in the next verse, he talks about what? He talks about Amritatvam, or immortality. What is it that we are all looking for? Basically, everybody wants immortality. Nobody wants to be mortal, coming again and again in different bodies, coming and going. Ultimately, this Purusha or Atma is the immortal principle, and I am that content immortal Atma. But when I identify myself with the changing or the mortal body mind sense complex, I become as good as mortal. So, what is the next benefit? I understand that I am this immortal Atma Swarupam. He says here, Samam Pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitamishwaram nahi nastyatmanatmanam tato yati parangatim. So, samam pashyan hi sarvatra. This person who is able to see samyak darshanam, very clearly able to see sarvatra, everywhere, samavasthitam, that which is present as the content, ishwaram, here ishvara means atmanam pashyate, atma, this purusha or atma. Sometimes ishvara is also a paryaya pada for atma or brahman. This atma or purusham which is present in every container as the content. Samam, samavastitam, samam samavastitam. Equally as the content, the same content present in every container, sarvatra, everywhere. This jnani, this knower, what happens? Na hinasti atmana atmanam. That means what? He does not torture himself. What is my torture? I am tortured by the constant changes that are happening in the anatma body mind sense complex. Correct? So, what he says is, na hinasti. He does not destroy himself. How do I destroy myself? I am that atma which is never born or never dead. But I identify myself with this body mind sense complex. I make myself a karta, and when I say that I am the doer and I do all the actions, I accrue the karma phala, and to exhaust that karma phala, I come back again and again and again in another body, another body, another body. For kalpas together, I come back. So, what have I done? Okay, though I am that Atma, I have destroyed myself in identifying myself with the Anatma and coming back again and again and again in different bodies. But once this Samyak Darshanam is got, once this person has understood the reality of who am I in reality? Am I this Anatma body? Or am I this content consciousness, never changing, na jayate, na mriyate va kadachit, that Atma am I? Or this all the time perishable Anatma am I? So the person who has this clear understanding that I am this Atma, Samam, Samavastitam, Ishwaram Sarvatra Pashyan, having appreciated this fact by what? By not by my mere, chakshu, by jnana chakshu, by this knowledge which has made me understand this buddhi, which is soaked in this atmajnanam, the one who is able to see this, he does not destroy himself. That means what? Tato yati param gatim, amritatva prapti. That means what? I am the immortal Atma. I cannot be the mortal body mind sense complex. What comes and goes is the body mind sense complex, which is the Anatma. What does all the actions is the body mind sense complex. I am not the Karta. What undergoes all the experiences is nothing but body mind sense complex. I am not the Bhokta. If I have understood this, and who am I? I am that content consciousness, which is the same in every container, which is the same behind every name and form in the Jagat. And when I have understood this clearly, I have understood my immortality. As Atma, I am immortal. There's no question of my coming back again and again. It is out of this ignorance, it is out of my falsely or by ignorance identifying myself with this Anatma body mind sense complex. I have as though destroyed myself and I'm coming back again and again and again into different bodies. And thus, I myself am destroying myself. And once I have understood this, what it is, once I have understood that I am that content, upadrishta, anumanta, purushaha, atma, that which never changes, I am that atma. When I have understood it very clearly, that is what is called as moksha, that is what is called as paragati, that is what is called as the amritatva prapti. Here, I don't get amritatvam. I understand that I have always been this immortal Atma. If anything is got, it is lost. Amritatvam is not what I get after this knowledge. Amritatvam is that I have ever been immortal. I have never been mortal. It is only my ignorance and my confusion because of which I have been coming back again and again. Understanding that my very nature is that immortal Atma. My very Swarupam is immortality. When I understand this understanding is called as moksha. This understanding is called as amritatvam. This understanding is called as immortality. Immortality is not something which is got after this knowledge. Immortality is the understanding that this knowledge reveals to me that you have never been a mortal jiva, oh jiva. You have always been this Paramatma Atma. But because of your ignorance, you thought yourself to be this ever coming and going body mind sense complex. But now with this knowledge, knowing fully well who you are, you now have understood that you have never been a mortal body mind sense complex, but you have been the ever immortal Atma itself. Okay, so this is the second phalam. First phalam was what? Samyak darshanam. Second phalam or benefit of this knowledge was understanding myself to be that ever, infinite and that immortal Atma. So we'll complete the third chapter in the next session. And 14th chapter onwards, it will be much easier. It is like coming down, from a very high level of thing. Then it will be much, clearer and easier to understand from the 14th chapter. नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्था शाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।